People who talk to themselves get misunderstood all the time, but let me tell you something real, something powerful. The people who talk to themselves are often the ones who are figuring life out. They are not confused, they are focused. They are not lost, they are aligning. When nobody else is around, when the noise dies down, that's when the real work begins. That's when you look at yourself and say, all right, what we doing next? That conversation right there can change everything. People think talking to yourself means something is wrong, but the truth is something is right. When you talk to yourself, it means your mind is working. It means you are processing. It means you are not drifting through life on autopilot. Confusion is silent. Growth makes noise. When you're trying to figure out who you are, where you're going, and what your next move is, your mind starts having conversations. That's not weakness, that's awareness. People who don't talk to themselves usually let life decide for them. They react instead of respond. They wait instead of prepare. But when you talk to yourself, you're checking in, you're asking, is this the right move? Is this who I want to become? Am I giving my best or am I making excuses? Those questions don't come from madness. They come from maturity. They come from someone who knows that life doesn't improve by accident. Talking to yourself is clarity because it forces you to slow down. In a world full of noise, opinions, and pressure, silence is rare. And in that silence, when you start speaking to yourself, you begin to hear what you actually believe, not what everyone else told you to believe. You stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. You realize some goals weren't yours to begin with, and some fears were planted by people who never had the courage to try. When you talk to yourself, you're organizing your thoughts. You're separating emotions from decisions. You're saying, I'm hurt, but I'm not broken. You're saying, I'm scared, but I'm still moving. That's clarity. Clarity is knowing how you feel without letting your feelings control you. Clarity is understanding the problem without becoming the problem. That kind of mindset doesn't come from chaos. It comes from intentional self-communication. Some of the strongest decisions you'll ever make won't be announced to anyone. They'll be whispered to yourself. Decisions like walking away, starting over, trying again, or staying disciplined when nobody is watching, those decisions are born in self-talk. You don't wake up confident one day by accident. You build confidence by reminding yourself who you are when doubt tries to take over. People who talk to themselves don't need constant validation. They already checked in with themselves. They already ran the conversation. They already know what they're capable of. And when life hits them, when setbacks come, they don't panic, they regroup because they've been coaching themselves all along. They've been having those private talks that sharpen the mind and strengthen the spirit. Clarity also means accountability. When you talk to yourself, you can't hide. You can't blame everyone forever. At some point, you have to say, all right, what's my role in this? That moment changes everything. That's when excuses start to fall off and responsibility steps in. And responsibility is where power lives. So don't let anyone make you feel strange for talking to yourself. That inner dialogue is you preparing for the next level. That's you aligning your thoughts with your purpose. That's you sharpening your focus. And in a world full of distracted people, the ones who talk to themselves clearly are usually the ones who end up ahead. People who talk to themselves are often the ones building strength when nobody is watching. Winners don't wait for someone to clap for them. They don't wait for a speech. They don't wait for motivation to show up on time. They coach themselves. They sit alone with their thoughts and say, this is what we're going to do next. That self-talk becomes their personal training ground. Long before the results show up, the conversation has already happened. Every successful person you admire has had moments where nobody believed in them. No crowd, no support, just silence. And in that silence, they had to become their own coach. Talking to yourself is how you give direction to your life when there is no one else to guide you. It's how you correct mistakes without embarrassment and encourage yourself without needing permission. That's not arrogance, that's survival. Pressure exposes people. Some people fold under it, others rise. The ones who rise are usually the ones who have been talking to themselves all along. When pressure hits, they already know what to say. They don't panic because they've rehearsed resilience. They've already told themselves, stay calm, focus. You've been here before. That inner voice becomes steady when everything else feels shaky. Coaching yourself means holding yourself accountable. It means saying that effort wasn't good enough. Without hating yourself, it means saying we can do better tomorrow without giving up today. A real coach doesn't tear you down, they correct you. And people who talk to themselves learn how to correct their behavior without destroying their confidence. That balance is powerful. Most people quit because they listen to the wrong voice. Fear talks, doubt talks, past failure talks. But winners talk back. They don't let negativity run the meeting in their mind. They interrupt it. They say, I hear you, but you're not in charge. That's self-coaching. That's mental toughness. And that skill is built, not inherited. Talking to yourself is also how you stay disciplined when motivation disappears. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is mental. On the days you don't feel like showing up, your inner coach steps in and says, feelings don't decide today, commitment does. That's why some people stay consistent while others keep starting over. The difference isn't talent, it's the conversation they're having with themselves. When nobody sees your effort, when progress feels slow, when results are taking too long, self-talk keeps you moving. It reminds you why you started. It reminds you who you're becoming. It keeps you aligned with the bigger picture instead of quitting over a bad moment. Winners don't need constant reminders from the outside because they've built a strong voice on the inside. People who talk to themselves don't crumble when criticized because they already evaluated themselves honestly. They know where they need to grow. They know where they are strong. External opinions don't shake them easily because their foundation is internal. They've been coached in private, so they perform with confidence in public. That's why talking to yourself isn't strange, it's strategic. It's preparation. It's leadership. It's how ordinary people train their minds to handle extraordinary pressure and still move forward when nobody is cheering. People who talk to themselves understand something powerful about confidence that most people miss. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is not pretending. Confidence is built quietly in private moments when you remind yourself who you are and what you've already survived. When you talk to yourself, you are shaping your self-image. You are deciding how you see yourself before the world gets a chance to label you. The world will test you. People will doubt you. Situations will try to shrink you. And if you haven't already had the conversation with yourself, you'll start believing what everything and everyone else is saying. But when you've been talking to yourself, when you've been reinforcing your worth, you don't fall apart so easily. You say, I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know my value. That confidence doesn't come from compliments. It comes from repetition. Talking to yourself is how you install belief. Belief doesn't magically appear. You build it by reminding yourself of your progress, your effort, your growth. You say, I've come too far to quit now. You say, I've handled worse than this. Those words matter. Your mind listens. And the more you hear strength, the more you start acting strong. People who lack confidence often have the loudest inner critic. That voice keeps reminding them of mistakes, failures, and what could go wrong. But people who talk to themselves intentionally learn how to change that voice. They don't deny fear, they manage it. They don't ignore weakness, they work on it. They don't insult themselves for falling short. They instruct themselves to rise higher next time. Self-talk is also how you walk into rooms differently. When you remind yourself that you belong, your posture changes, your energy changes, your decisions change. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with what you say to yourself when nobody else is around. Confidence built through self-talk is stable. It doesn't disappear when someone disagrees with you. It doesn't collapse when things don't go your way, because it wasn't built on praise. It was built on self-respect. You already checked in with yourself. You already know your intentions. You already know your effort. So outside noise doesn't control you. People who talk to themselves also learn how to calm their nerves before a tough moment. They don't panic. They prepare. They say, breathe, focus, one step at a time. That internal guidance steadies the mind. It keeps emotions from running the show. And when emotions are under control, confidence has room to stand tall. The strongest confidence is quiet assurance. It's knowing you don't need to prove yourself to everyone. It's knowing your worth without announcing it. That kind of confidence grows in silence through consistent self-talk that reinforces identity instead of insecurity. So when you see someone calm under pressure, steady in uncertainty, and grounded in who they are, understand this. Long before that moment, they were talking to themselves. They were shaping their confidence one conversation at a time, until belief became natural and doubt stopped having the final word. People who talk to themselves build discipline in a way most people never do. Discipline doesn't start with action, it starts with agreement. An agreement you make with yourself about who you are going to be even when nobody is watching. When you talk to yourself, you are setting standards. You are saying, this is how we move. This is what we tolerate. This is what we don't. That internal agreement becomes the foundation of consistency. Most people struggle with discipline because they negotiate with themselves too much. They let emotions decide the plan, but people who talk to themselves clearly don't negotiate every day. They remind themselves of the commitment. They say, we already decided this. That's powerful. That's how habits are built. Not with motivation, but with repeated self-instruction. Talking to yourself is how you correct behavior in private before life embarrasses you in public. It's how you say, that wasn't your best effort without quitting. It's how you say, we're slipping, tighten up, without self-hate. Discipline doesn't mean being harsh. It means being honest. And honesty with yourself requires conversation. When you don't talk to yourself, your behavior runs unchecked. You react to moods. You chase comfort. You avoid discomfort. But when you talk to yourself, you interrupt bad patterns. You catch yourself slipping and say, that's not who we're trying to become. That moment of awareness is discipline being born. People who talk to themselves also learn how to delay gratification. They remind themselves of the bigger picture. They say, this feels good now, but it costs too much later. Or, this is hard now, but it pays off later. That internal reminder is what separates people who stay stuck from people who progress. Discipline is choosing long-term respect over short-term relief. Self-talk keeps you consistent when results are slow. When effort doesn't immediately turn into reward, most people give up. But disciplined people talk themselves through the waiting period. They say, stay the course. Keep showing up. They don't panic because they understand growth isn't loud in the beginning. It's quiet, repetitive, and often invisible. Talking to yourself also helps you recover faster from mistakes. Instead of spiraling, you assess. Instead of quitting, you adjust. You say, all right, what did we learn? That mindset keeps discipline alive because discipline isn't perfection, it's correction. And correction requires communication. People who don't talk to themselves depend on external structure to stay disciplined. They need pressure. They need supervision. But people who talk to themselves build internal structure. They don't need someone standing over them. They already have a voice inside keeping them accountable. Over time, that voice becomes automatic. You don't have to force discipline anymore. You've trained your mind to respond a certain way. You've conditioned yourself to do what needs to be done, not just what feels good. And that's when discipline stops feeling heavy and starts feeling natural. So when you see someone consistent, focused, and steady, understand this. Their discipline wasn't accidental. It was built through daily conversations with themselves, reinforcing standards, correcting course, and choosing growth even when nobody else was paying attention. People who talk to themselves understand that real growth doesn't happen in front of an audience. Growth happens in private moments when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, when nobody even knows you're struggling. That's when the most important conversations take place. When you talk to yourself, you are not escaping reality. You are facing it. You are pulling yourself aside and saying, let's fix this before it gets worse. Most people don't grow because they avoid those private conversations. They distract themselves. They stay busy. They scroll. They laugh. They pretend everything is fine. But people who talk to themselves don't run from discomfort. They sit with it. They ask themselves hard questions. Why did that trigger me? Why do I keep repeating this pattern?